Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me this week. I want to welcome everyone who is either listening on the podcast or if you are live in the Facebook group, Breakthrough Emotional Eating. Thank you so much for coming and being here. I appreciate it so very much. I know, right, especially at this time of year, we were recording this on the 15th of December, and I was just online ordering some gifts and doing those kinds of things. And it is a busy time. And so for those people who are here, who've taken the time to be here, so appreciate you being here and taking the time to just share some space with me and with the listeners. So again, thank you so much for being here. If you are on the podcast and you have not experienced the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Facebook group, you want to come and check us out. www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough, and check out our community. Amazing people, super supportive, super encouraging, lots of information about emotional eating, as well as steps that you can take to help manage and learn how to manage your emotional eating and how that connects with your weight and with weight loss and all the things. And so if that is something that you have more curiosity and more interest, if you're listening, you probably do, you would want to come and join the group. So again, www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough. So what we are talking about today is at this time of year, and I think it's this time of year, I think it could be any time of the year. It's so easy to fall into a funk. That's what I like to call it. It's a funk. You wake up one day and you're just like, yeah, you just kind of wah, wah, you can't see anything positive. You can't see anything uplifting. And it just seems like there's just no place to go. You're not really sure. You don't know how to get yourself out of it. You feel kind of lost. And I will be honest and totally tell you that I had one of those days earlier this week, and it's only Wednesday. And I had a day like that this week. And so I completely understand. And it happens to all of us. And I think the first thing is we have to just accept and realize it happens to all of us from one time or another. But what can you do when you feel like, okay, I know I'm in a bad place. Everything seems dark. Everything seems negative. What can I do? Barring calling the doctor and getting medication, what can I do in this moment to try and bring myself out of it and kind of turn things around? And that's what we're going to talk about today. It doesn't need to be something that is, again, it's not medication. It's not a program. It's not getting coaching from me. It's nothing like that. It is something so very simple, something that you can do in a moment's notice. And it can cost you a few dollars. It can cost you absolutely nothing. And you just have to decide that you want to do it. So I'm excited to be able to share this with you because it definitely has helped me in a variety of situations, as well as many people that I know. And so what am I talking about? What is this magical thing that I'm talking about? It's merely the idea and the act of giving to someone else. Now that can look like anything. For being a coach who is very focused on people taking care of themselves and women not doing things for everybody else, I want to be super clear. This is not being codependent. This is not stepping in and trying to run someone's life. This is not stepping in and trying to run someone's life or do something for someone and expecting something in return. This is merely giving because you can, and giving to somebody who is in need, without any expectation, without any kickback, nothing. We go into it with an open and pure heart. And I will tell you that it is magical. It is magical. It is amazing what it can do. So there are actually, I'm going to break down 6 scientific benefits to helping others. as well as one universal law that absolutely supports giving to other people. And then lastly, an amazing example, and as I always like to do, a book recommendation for really specific things that you can do in order to cultivate more of this giving from a very, very healthy place in your life. And I will tell you that it is pretty amazing. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. So first off, I would love to hear, because I asked a question in the group earlier this week, and y'all were so cute because you all, when I asked them, what was the best gift you've ever given to somebody? And I really was looking honestly for more tangible, like material or material things, but you all were so cute. You were everybody, most people were, oh, my love, my time, and my time is super valuable. Believe me, that is amazingly valuable. But it was just interesting because it felt like people didn't want to feel like they were bragging about themselves. And I absolutely do not, I don't see giving to others as being something that we should ever have to be ashamed of or embarrassed of, because honestly, a lot of times we get just as much, if not more, out of giving than we do receiving. And we actually sometimes get more than the other people. So I talked about this in the group. I wrote about this in the group, and I'm gonna share two instances for me of giving to somebody else without well, they were members of my family, but really without any expectation. So the first was about I think it was almost 10 years. Well, it's almost 10 years ago. I had paid off my car, and my nephew, who was 17 at the time, who's now 27, had he was driving. I don't even know what kind of car he was driving at the time. Anyway, I had my car, I paid it off. I wanted to get a new car. And so I gave him my car. And I think I cried, I cried more than him when he opened I wrote him a letter, and because he and I have a very, very special bond. I've been very, very close with him for most of his life. And so that was, to me, I felt like, for me, I was way more excited. And then, he was excited, obviously, but I was like, the more anticipation, I was so excited. It made my holiday. It was just absolutely amazing to be able to do that, and to just be able to be that cool aunt. I'm going to be honest. But it really was something that we both equally got something out of. The second is a completely different situation. The second example is about 4 years ago. And it was the first Christmas after I had left my job and I had started my business. And I could not afford to be in the gift exchange. My family does a gift exchange because there's so many of us. I couldn't even afford to be in the gift exchange. I didn't have the money. I couldn't do it. And so instead, what I did was I wrote I wrote letters to every single member of my family and told them how, I don't want to start crying, but every single member about, and even their significant others, who actually, some of the significant others aren't even still with us. They're not even still with relatives. But I wrote letters to each person and just told them how important they were. I, of course, cried while I was writing them. And then when I gave them, I was fine. But that, to me, was a piece of my heart that I gave to them. And that was, again, that was like a Christmas that was such a highlight. And it had nothing to do with me receiving anything. It was me giving a piece of myself to somebody else. And that's what, and I will tell you, I was so sad and so depressed and so just, I was having a really hard time. And being able to do that, it made my Christmas so much better, because I was in a really, really bad spot. And being able to do that was amazing. It completely turned that Christmas around. And it gave me an opportunity to really share with people how I really felt, and things that I might not ever be able to say, but was able to write out. So that is on a grander scale, but there are so many things that we can do on a daily basis that can pull us, if we're having that bad day, pull us out of wherever we are. So I'm going to give you the scientific, the lowdown, the real lowdown on scientifically why it's such a good thing to be giving to others. And again, giving to others without expectation, from your heart, from a very authentic and true spot. So the first thing is that actually there's it's scientifically proven that people who volunteer or people who give to others oftentimes have a longer lifespan. And so when we're talking about like volunteers, a lot of times when people have retired, for a lot of older people, it is so beneficial to be able to volunteer, because it will extend a person's life. And the reason being is that on many volunteers, it allows them to be able to alleviate the stress of loneliness. That loneliness actually does cause stress on the body. And we'll actually talk about that a little bit later, because it helps with something else too. But it decreases the rate of depression with people when they're able to get out, they're able to help people. So again, they can live longer, and they have a better life satisfaction. And it alleviates that loneliness. So living longer, first one. Second one, giving is contagious. So there's been a study that's been shown that when people are asked, like the last time they gave to either an organization or they did something for somebody, there was a high percentage of people who said that they did it because they had seen somebody else doing it. And so giving is contagious. So you don't know the chain reaction that you could be starting by giving to somebody else. And not that's not the sole purpose of doing it, but you don't know how that might set that person in a position where they say, oh gosh, somebody did something for me, I want to do something for them, I want to do something for somebody else, and I'm going to pass that along, I'm going to pay it forward. Remember that movie, Pay It Forward? So that's the same kind of idea. Third thing, it just makes you happy. Giving to somebody just makes you happy. There's an increased sense of well-being due to, sometimes it's an increase in movement just because you're out and you're doing something. There's a mental boost that people get because they're given a purpose. They feel like there's something that they're doing that's positively impacting another person. And that's huge. It also, when we give to others, it releases a little bit of a chemical that in our brain, in our reward center in our brain, that allows us to feel positive and allows us to get that little bit of a dopamine hit that gives us that, oh, something good's coming. And so that really can very positively affect how we feel. Number 4, this is a crazy one. It can actually help people who have chronic pain. And I'm also going to say, I'm going to throw in chronic pain and anxiety. And the reason why is when people have something, our brain is very much like that of a dog, and it's very distractible. And so we can get distracted very easily. And oftentimes we can't focus. If we have something to really focus on and do, we don't have a tendency to focus on ourselves and what our problems are because we're helping somebody else. And so it creates that outward giving, as opposed to you being in that negative spiral of, oh, this hurts so much, oh, I'm so sad, oh, I'm doing all of these horrible things. And that negative spiral no longer is spiraling down, but it's moving outward because you're giving to others. Sorry, I had to tell my dog to be quiet. So that is that can really again be something that can help with chronic pain or with anxiety. Number 5 is that lower blood pressure. You can lower blood pressure again because of the reduction in stress and the ability to be able to have a purpose, and that can help with blood pressure, lowering that stress level. And again, lastly, it can give a sense of purpose and a sense of direction and value. And that can be so important, especially for people who are struggling with depression, struggling with anxiety. And I'm in no way saying that for those people who feel like that they are needing a medication, I am not in any way saying that that's not necessary. But I'm just saying this is another way that you can really kind of not have the focus solely be on you and what's going on with you. When we can focus on others and we realize how blessed and grateful we can be about what we already have, and that we have the ability to give to other people, whether it's from a material standpoint or whether it's from our time, all of that can make a huge difference. um, I'm so glad. Patty says she'll be listening to this podcast at least 2 to 3 more times. I'm so glad. That's great. That's awesome. I'm so glad that helps. So the next thing is I want to kind of give you, I want to kind of illustrate the universal law that really is the thing about giving. And I want to actually tell a little bit of a story first. I really kind of came into kind of this kind of became on my radar. It was probably I think it was my last year of teaching. So it was about 5 years ago. And I had a teaching partner. Actually, it was, yeah, it was. I had a teaching partner, my very dear friend, Lynette Gonzalez, and I was going to be out of school, and I needed something for the kids to do. And so she provided me this SAT, so the standardized testing SAT prep question, had the kids write an essay. And the essay was basically asking them to consider this proposition. And the proposition was, is there an obligation? And again, these were 8th graders. So they were asked this question: is there an obligation for people who are financially secure to help those who are less fortunate? Is there a social obligation for them? If you are in a position to be able to give, should there be a social obligation that you give to those people who are less fortunate than you? That was the question. It's a pretty heady question for 8th graders, but I thought that was so good because I really loved challenging the kids and challenging their thinking, and that it was really important. I thought it was an important and very valuable concept for us to talk about. And so I knew that when I was going to have them write an essay about it, that I knew I was going to have to come in with my own essay, and I was going to need to be prepared to be able to defend what my stance was going to be. And so for anyone out there who's an English teacher, when you have to write an essay, and it's an argument essay, and you're taking one side of an argument, you have to have your reasons and you have to have your specific supports for that reason. And so I kind of started doing some research, and research was so interesting because it led me to these scientific reasons why people should do it. But the main reason that people were encouraged to give was something called, though there's 2 names for it, there's something called the boomerang effect. Some of you might know it. It might be more widely known as the law of attraction. And the boomerang effect, or the law of attraction, is that whatever you put out will come back to you tenfold. And so whatever we put out, so if we put out negative energy, if we put out negativity, we put out sadness, that's what we're going to get back. And so it was this idea that we want to help others. So obviously directly to help other people, but also it's not all going one way. It goes both ways, because the person who gives also gets back too. So that was kind of the first reason that I was talking about with the kids. And so in the process of doing this, I came across the last thing I'm going to talk about, which is the amazing example of why and what there is a movement in regards to giving and giving to others and why it's so incredibly powerful. So in the process of doing this research for this paper that I was going to write for my kids, I came across an organization called 29 Gifts. Has anyone, if you're watching on the podcast or watching in the Facebook group, has anyone ever heard of 29 Gifts? Okay, it's an organization, 29 Gifts. And 29 Gifts is there's a challenge, a 29 gifts challenge. And I will explain to you kind of what that is. But when I was doing this research, I found there was a book called 29 Gifts, How 1 Month of Giving Can Change Your Life. And so I was like super fascinated. And I thought, okay, let me just, I'm gonna look into this book. And so I bought it on Audible, started listening to it. And the story is, and it's not a story, it's actually written by the person who created this movement. This book is written by a woman named Cammie Walker. And Cammie Walker is a woman who, this was again probably like 5 or 6 years ago, who was at that time in her early 30s, and she had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And she had just gotten married and had her life moving in a direction. She was incredibly vibrant. She had a really powerful job. She was doing all of these amazing things, and then she got this diagnosis and she fell into a depression. And she just couldn't get herself out of it. She was just, it really just really moved her in a direction, and she was almost became to the point where she wasn't leaving her house. It was impacting her marriage. It was obviously impacting how she felt about herself. And so she ended up ended up being recommended to see a woman who was an African medicine woman. And this medicine woman saw her and gave her the remedy that she felt was going to be most appropriate for her. And at first, Cammie was like, I'm sorry, what? Like 29 gifts? What are you talking about? And this woman said, because she's like, well, what can I do? What kind of medication can I take? I mean, I'm taking my MS medication. It's not, it's not helping me feel any better emotionally. And so the medicine woman said, you need to give a gift for the next 29 days. Every day you give a gift to someone else. And it doesn't have to cost anything. It doesn't have to, it just could be something as simple as giving someone a Kleenex. It could be giving someone a call, calling someone and checking on them. It could be making a donation. Any of those, it doesn't have to cost at all. It could be opening the door for somebody. It could be giving somebody a compliment. But the woman said, you need to be very aware of what you're doing, and you need to write it down, and you need to make sure that for 29 days, you give a gift to someone every single day. And Cammie rolled her eyes and was like, okay. So she's like, okay, I'll give it a try. She was in, oh my gosh, you're reading this book. Oh, read this book. It's amazing. Oh, Jennifer, I'm so glad you've read it. Oh, that's awesome. It is. It's such a good book. It's such a good book. That is amazing. I'm so glad. And so she, started on this journey, and it completely changed the whole trajectory of her life, because she wasn't so inwardly focused of why me, woe is me, this is horrible. It was now becoming about other people. And there are times in our lives that it needs to be about other people, that we can't ruminate on what's happening with us all the time. We have to make sure that we have to change our perspective. And we have to just realize how blessed in any situation, how blessed we are. And so she started doing this, and slowly, lo and behold, she moved through the 29 days, and everything changed about her. And so she ended up creating an organization. And she has a website. Kathy dropped the website, 29gifts.org. There's a 29-day challenge. You absolutely can do it. I think there still has a challenge there, but it's just amazing. And it just shows you and illustrates how how powerful giving is, and that we forget sometimes because we get so involved in the minutia and the little tiny things in our lives, and we forget and we don't realize, like, there are so many people who are in a much different position than we are, and we need to be really careful and really clear on how blessed we all are. The fact that you're even on this platform watching me, that indicates you have a cell phone. That indicates you have the ability to be able to pay for cell phone service. That in and of itself is amazing. There are a lot of people who don't have that. There's a lot of places in the world where people don't have that. So, it's all our perspective. It's all how we choose to look at it. So was doing that. So I started doing it at that time. I started doing this 29 gifts, and started giving these gifts away, and giving gifts away. And it was, I'm going to say, it was it was the craziest thing. So as I had mentioned, this is right around the time, it was January. It was right after I did my letters, after I wrote my letters to my family that I talked about earlier. That it was January of that year that I did this. And so I started giving away the gifts. And sometimes it was something that I owned. Sometimes it was something I would bake. It was a variety of things. And sometimes it was a phone call. Sometimes it was a text message, just telling somebody I was thinking of them. And so what started happening was, so in this situation, it was very interesting, because as I was doing it, like, I got a call from one of my closest friends who asked me if he could pay for my PG&E bill, because he knew that I was struggling, and he knew I was kind of in a bad way. And so he just said, "Hey, can I pay your PG&E bill this month?" And I was just like that came out of nowhere. And then 2 days later, I got I at that time was doing a lot of house sitting to supplement my income. And I got 2 house sitting jobs from people who I hadn't spoken to in months. Like, I hadn't heard from them. I had done jobs for them. That kind of thing just kind of comes and goes. I hadn't heard from them in months. And then 2 people called me, and I had 2 week-long jobs that was going to be very beneficial monetarily for me. And again, I was in that place of needing that at the time. And it really illustrated not only the idea of the boomerang effect and the law of attraction, but also just the idea of that what we give, we always get back. And so but it really does put us in a much better frame of mind, in a much better place to be able to really manage ourselves, manage how we feel, and making sure that we are really taking care of ourselves in that way of we all get into those places. We all get into those low spots. What can you do in the moment? What can you do? And really what you can do is help somebody else, because then it's not about you. You're not focusing on your issues. Now it's like, let me give to somebody else. Your issues, they're going to be there. You can get back to them. But for a moment, let's uplift ourselves and give and share with somebody else. So that is what I would encourage you to think about in the next the next hour or so. If you want to go online and you want to look at the 29 gifts, it's a book, as well as there's a website. The book is available on Amazon. It's also available on Audible. But that may be something that, again, just having that and knowing that that's there when you wake up those days when you're just like, I cannot get out of this place where I just don't feel I feel lost. That's what you turn to. That's what you remember. Okay, it doesn't need to always be about me. I don't have to always focus on what's going on with me. For this moment, to get myself to kind of break that chain of thought, I need to focus on something else. I need to focus on giving to somebody else. And again, from a healthy, authentic, and really true and loving way. So that is the message for today. And again, I think it's kind of appropriate with it being the holidays. We definitely, there's so many opportunities. There's so many people that struggle during this time. And again, if this is something that you can share with somebody maybe who does struggle with depression, who does struggle with anxiety, this could be something that you could share with them. That could be the gift. Giving them the website, letting them know about the book, letting them know about the audiobook, but just sharing this with somebody, that could be your first gift that you give. So I would love if in the comments in the Facebook group, if this is something that you think you could even go 3 days, you don't have to do 29 days, even 3 days. Who can commit to, for the next 3 days, doing something for somebody else? Who can commit to that? So if you would like to commit to a 3-day giving challenge, just write the word gift in the comments. The word is gift. And for the next 3 days, it could be tonight. You could do something tonight. So it could be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It could be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But for the next 3 days, let's all try and just give to somebody else. Give a gift to somebody else. So if you are down with that, gift is the word that you want to put in the comments. And I'm seeing the gifts roll in. That is awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. That's great. I mean, again, giving is contagious. We spread it to others. We help others. Again, it's just something that can help the world, just all of us get outside of ourselves and really give to others and help others give. And again, all it takes is that little snowball. All it takes is that one little domino, and that domino could be you. All right. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining Jackson and I today, and appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much. And again, the gift giving of yourself, giving of time, just something to give to another person really can not only change their world, but it will change yours as well. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you all. Glad you hung in there. Thanks for watching and listening, and I will see you all next week. All right. Take care, y'all.